you're back from Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm the only one that didn't go.
Oh, you and Murray. Murray didn't go.
Murray
Now the
didn't go.
mic is on if you want to turn that.
Yeah, Murray, he probably had work to do too.
Once
And then the wedding that
you
didn't
should
happen.
have the green light on.
Crazy.
Green
They all
light
went there for
on
the party.
when that meeting
I
starts.
talked to Chris Williams just today. I'm watching Chandler's. You know, and that's, I'm gonna watch other places.
Oh, Joe. Now, what are you watching? You watching Chandler?
Well, just, look, I'm not getting the mail this time because now we're here, but usually I get the mail. So, yeah, I just watch them, make sure they're okay. Both, you know, all three of the places.
A minute after the meeting.
And the mic, if you hit, it's on. If the light is not on, it's not, so you have to push that button. There you go.
It is now on.
Good. Yep.
Very good. I'm gonna turn it off. I don't want anybody to hear me.
How are you, Jeff?
Hey, good. How's George?
Good. You have a good weekend?
Oh, yeah. Had my mini spring break.
Yeah. There's such
Yeah,
a
that
lot.
Friday now, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't
you
know what
were-
to do. I got
you know,
up this
you had-
morning at
you were in a
5:30.
different-
I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Friday, you were in a better
I was,
mood.
yeah, I
I
didn't
mean,
have
it
to
was
go to
like, wow.
school.
Yeah. You didn't have to go.
I tell the kids that, yeah.
Yeah, no good.
It'll be a week, but we'll get back and, it'll just, we need to, that's a
Yeah.
long break.
Oh.
Long
Well-
break for them.
Yeah, well, we were talking about it is,
Yours?
messes with teaching, I would think.
Just everything.
Structure.
Yeah, everything.
Start teaching these concept and.
Can't get traction, it'll be all right.
Now I got an email on that contract.
Oh, this one.
Do you see where Jeremy's not gonna make it?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody ready? Well, let's get this one. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call this meeting to order, and to start with, I'd ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let's begin with the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Everyone should have received in the board pack or with a hard copy of the minutes from the last meeting. And I'll ask if there are any additions, corrections, deletions. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. So moved. Rick, motions to approve, I assume.
I'll second that.
Jeff makes a second. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of claims. Mr. Jeremy, welcome back.
I'll run through the list. There's a few claims. Warsaw Times Union, $183.11 was for the advertisement for the 300 North project. Westler Engineering, $25,211.14 is for the Airport Industrial Park engineering contract. Troyer Group, a little over $5,000 was for on-call engineering services for North Point Drive. Troyer Group, $10,500 Westler Engineering, $5,550 is for ongoing sanitary sewer master plan out in the northern tech park, or out in the northern TIF area. American Structure Points, $7,522.65 is for the ongoing design fee for Buffalo Street Plaza. And then Westler Engineering, $5,922.73 is for ongoing engineering at the Airport Industrial Park project, sewer project. Once again, Westler Engineering, $6,200 is for the sewer master plan. And the last claim is for Regional Corp Trust, which is part of our bond requirements for their annual fee for the Thompson and Thrift Development, $800.
Good. Are there any questions, Jeremy, regarding the claims submitted? Actually, some of these claims were from December as well as January, so you might want to note that, but that's why we have a little more extended list, I think, this time, because some of them did get in to us before the end of the year.
Yeah, and we had a couple come in on Friday that were added to the list rather than waiting on.
Right. Okay. Any questions? Discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I'll call the motion.
I'll move we approve the claims.
Mr. Clemens moves to approve claims as submitted. And do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Gross seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay. Moving right along. We have some new business. I think the first order in the order of business is the purchase agreement, the contract, which we received on JPJ Food Mart, correct?
Yes. Scott put this contract together, so I'll let him answer any questions if you have them on the contract itself. But like we discussed this project before, is purchasing the abandoned gas station, the now closed gas station at the 443 North Detroit Street address. It's on the corner of Canal Street and one of the main entrances into our Central Park. We did the phase 1 through Paramita, and we did the 2 appraisals. The average of the 2 appraisals came back at 152.5. So that is the requested purchase amount.
So
And
the
it should be,
the purchase price stated in the contract is the average of the two appraisals.
yes. Yep.
Okay, good. That was one of my questions.
Did they have the option of getting their own appraisal?
They did.
They did get one. And so that's,
They had the option to get.
oh, they did have the
They
option.
declined.
Okay. I can't pull that thing up right now, but they, one of the things I saw in there, the question was marked no, that we're not an adjacent property owner, but aren't we? I thought it was some of them.
Well, the city
So-
park is the adjacent property owner. I put it down as no because Redevelopment Commission is who's on this purchase agreement, this contract, to the extent that the city park and the Redevelopment Commission are the same entity. At this point, I'll assume they're not.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
technically, we're not an adjacent.
That's my opinion at this point. At some point, I'm assuming the properties.
That's
will
why we
likely
pay you the
become
big
city.
bucks.
Yeah, in terms of ownership, we are different entities. The city has certain
Right.
rules and regulations that they operate. The Redevelopment Commission has certain rules and regulations they operate under. So in terms of who's purchasing this property, the Redevelopment Commission is purchasing this property as a part of its economic development area that we call the Central TIF District.
I think where the confusion comes is we're all under the umbrella of the city of Warsaw in the end, but technically redevelopment is making the purchase at this point,
Yes.
and we do not own that property or
We do
adjacent.
not own the adjacent property. The adjacent property is owned by the or is in the Parks Department's
It's a good question.
City of Warsaw.
Well, they asked that question probably for, I'll base taxes on it, which aren't
I
in
think
play
another
here
reason,
too.
Adjacent owners can combine lots.
Yeah.
And there's some zoning restrictions that would, it's different setbacks and things that may apply, that wouldn't apply if you were an adjacent owner necessarily.
Right.
I see.
Okay, well, I'm okay with that.
Okay. The other question I had is, this contract states that we're buying the property as is. My question to you is, what about the contents of the building?
So when we discussed with them that earlier, our intention is not to purchase it to operate as an ongoing service station or convenience store. So we're hopeful they will come and clear that stuff out. I expect, once this is approved, we believe they're gonna wanna close here in February. We're hoping to get it closed here in February, and we'll give them the opportunity to come and remove all the stuff that's in the building, and hopefully they do, and just make it easier cleanup for the Redevelopment Commission.
Right. Otherwise, we're gonna raise the building.
That's the intention, so hopefully they come and get it. We'll assume it's their property until after closing, and if they leave it after the closing, we'll deal with it some other way.
Okay. Just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Okay, it's a filling station. Possible environmental problems.
So we know they have, I don't mean to cut you off, that's the question.
That's not the question. Assuming these environmental issues have to be taken care of, who pays for it?
So, obviously, it's an abandoned gas station, non-functioning. That enables us to have certain opportunities through IDEM, CDBG grant funding, and through the EPA to seek grant funding to clean up the property. That's our intent at some point, is to seek those grants. This property's already listed on the EPA grant that we submitted as part of MACOG. So that's how we would pursue cleaning up any potential environmental issues through grants through the EPA, IDEM.
Okay, assuming you don't get those, we don't get those.
If I may, I think what you may be leading to is, why would we not put that burden on the seller right up front? Is there some reason?
Well, the seller, so to answer the immediate question, is there is no immediate threat for cleaning. So there's nothing outstanding that says they have to go in and clean it up tomorrow. It has a comfort letter that was completed through their remediation process 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, that gave them restrictions, but they can operate as is without any known environmental issues, without having to do any environmental cleanup. Now, if we were to want to do something outside of those restrictions, then we would be looking at cleaning up those issues to remove those restrictions from the property. Right now, it has the restrictions that there are a couple of areas that are currently capped in concrete. Those areas would have to remain capped in concrete unless we were to remediate those areas. Is that what you were? So we can go in, we can tear down the building. There's nothing that's environmental that has to be cleaned up to take ownership or tear down the building. Now, do we want to do some potential things in the future that may require us to clean up the property further? Maybe, and that's something we'll explore as the Redevelopment Commission with partners and as a city. The other opportunity here is this property owner does not have the opportunities that we have as a Redevelopment Commission and as a city to go after grant funding. There's two things we could do. We could do nothing and let the property go through a maturation in which it ends up with the R&O, is vacant, it sits on the tax rolls until we take ownership of it. Or we can take ownership of it now and start that cleanup process. That's kind of where we're at.
Do those underground tanks need to be removed?
Those underground tanks will need to be removed, and there are grant funds that we're gonna go after to remove those tanks.
But if
Is
you
there
don't-
any guarantee? No. With the tanks, there's a little bit better opportunities than, say, the EPA grants. I feel pretty confident that we'll be able to go after some funding through IDA and conversations we've had to remove the tanks and get that part.
Jeremy, just a quick point of clarification, that's the whole purpose for doing the phase one study that we all paid for and we just got completed. They look back on all of the environmental issues, concerns, orders, covenants, everything that's been done to this point. And yeah, they suggest there could be some issues when you take the tanks out, but I mean, we didn't fly into this blind. We did the phase one study to get up-to-date environmental information. I think it was on the register, it's $2,300 for us to feel comfortable that we know where we stand with this. So that's what the phase, that phase one is as current as, well, it ain't paid for yet.
Does that kind of answer what? So there are always going to be unknowns when you're buying a piece of property. I think we've done a pretty good job of covering what we think we know through the environmental. We've done enough research to know the grant opportunities that are out there for us to not only remove the tanks, but potentially clean the property up to remove some of those restrictions. And those are decisions that will come before the Redevelopment Commission in the city as we go for those grant opportunities.
Other questions? Hearing none, I assume we have to approve this contract.
Yes.
Yes. We'll entertain a motion to
So moved, we approve.
approve the contract as stated.
I'll
Go ahead.
second that.
And Mr. Clemens seconds. So Rick made the motion and Mr. Clemens made the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, thank you very much. The next next piece of new business is the transfer request, and you should have a hard copy in front of you for that.
Yeah, so it is our intent to purchase this property from redevelopment allocation or central TIF district. So what you have before you is a transfer of funds between the categories, the 400 categories. Every year I do the budget, I put little placeholders in there, so typically for like land and capital improvements, I'll put some money in there, but not knowing what we may ultimately do throughout the year.
Need it.
I put most of the money in capital improvements or infrastructure in this case, which is what we use for project construction. So I would request that we move $150,000 out of project construction or infrastructure into the land acquisition for the purchase of that property.
Okay, any questions regarding that procedure? Still within the redevelopment budget and just transferring the money so it's in the right category.
Jeremy, without the budget book in front of me, how much money did you have in that land?
So that's kind of the update I'm going to give you. So when we did the budget in June, we had anticipated getting a portion of the regional cities grant funding. I think it was $960-some thousand that I put in the budget. Our Buffalo Street project was done. The payments we submitted to them to get our portion of the regional cities funding. They ended up giving us all $1.615 million, which I believe the Board of Works accepted a few weeks ago. So that money is now in the account. We will probably do an additional appropriation because initially we only assumed getting $960,000 of that, not the whole $1.6 million. But the budget that was put together in June had a total infrastructure of just under $1.4 million for the construction of the plaza. So there was $1,396,000 budgeted in infrastructure actually got 1.615 million from regional cities, that at some point I will probably request we do an additional appropriation to put into this year's budget for the construction of that plaza. I'm not requesting that at this point, but once we get a little further along in the plaza design, and once we bid the plaza project, we'll know where we stand in terms of funding it. We might ask for some additional appropriation of that 1.6 million to go towards that project.
So the money's there.
Yes, the money is there.
Okay, any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the transfer request.
I would second that.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Transfer is approved. Okay. Next thing on the agenda for, under new business is are the bids for the 300 North, Phase 2. And that's, that you should have a hard copy in front of you, starting with the Reith Riley Construction Company bid.
Yeah, so bids for 300 North project were opened at the last Board of Works. There were 2 bids that were turned in. The first bid was from Reith Riley at $2,315,601.95. And then the second bid was from Fenn & Brown for $1,880,359.30. It's my goal to have the Board of Works accept the low bid at their next meeting, and I would like the Redevelopment Commission to approve or make a recommendation accepting that low bid of Fenn & Brown for the $1,880,359.30.
Okay.
This was all part of your approval for this year's budget. We had 2 projects. If you remember correctly, 300 North was Phase 2 was one of those projects, and then the airport sanitary sewer project was the second project. In infrastructure in the northern TIF, we budgeted $4.5 million for those 2 projects. So as far as these bids are concerned, they're within our budget that was presented and approved by the Redevelopment Commission and the council to complete this Phase 2 project. And this includes the roundabout at Sheldon and reconstruction of 300 North from 15 all the way to the new bridge that the county completed last year.
That include the bikeways and
Includes the side path.
feedback.
I actually turned it on. Didn't realize it was off. But it includes the side path, includes street lighting. So it's a carbon copy of Phase 1 that runs from the bridge all the way to Sylvius and through the technology park. It's a carbon copy, so you have the street lights, the side path, the roundabout, and a complete reconstruction of 300 North, which this phase of 300 North is a lot more because we're actually putting in curbs. We're putting in storm sewers, which are not present currently in this. Right now, you just have drainage ditches
And a roundabout.
and the construction of the roundabout at Sheldon and 300 North. I believe Phase 1 was just under 900,000, and this is almost twice that. Because we are reconstructing the road. 300 North, mostly what we did was we put in some storm sewer, but we had built a portion of the 300 North for the school when the school was built out there a few years back. Redevelopment Commission paid I think we paid $300,000 or $400,000 in road improvements, include turn lanes and so forth. So the initial Phase 1 was a lot less reconstruction and more cosmetic in terms of the side path, the street lights, and some additional storm. This is going to be a complete reconstruction of 300 North.
And what's the projected time frame on that reconstruction?
It will start in March, and it will be done by the end of October. October, November, I think, is their completion. First week in November is substantial completion.
So that road will probably be closed most of the summer?
It will.
And there are a few people houses that we will work with, they'll have access the entire time. We'll work with the contractor to make sure, it'll be kind of like Husky Trail, it won't be great, but we'll make sure they can get in and out and safely during the construction. But when it's all done, it'll be spectacular. You got the new bridge, the side path, the street lights.
That'll be nice.
It'll tie into the technology park.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, any other questions?
What happens to 300 North when you get west of? What is that?
150,
Yeah.
Sylvia's Crossings.
The gravel road. That is in our northern TIF plan. So we're working through our projects. Our project last year was phase 2 of the technology park. Our 2 projects this year are 300 North, finishing it up to 15. And then the airport industrial park sanitary sewer. And then in June, when we're sitting back around thinking about what
can we cook up next?
What projects are we gonna work on in 2020? That'll be on the list, along with 200 West. So 200 West and construction are in some kind of reconstruction, or 300, after you cross Sylvia's Crossing, the reason there's a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So we'll really have to look at how we address those issues. There's no drainage, there's grade issues. We've talked about lines of sight. As you're coming off of Sylvia's Crossing, there's quite a grade change. So the question becomes, do we try to make any kind of adjustment, maybe cut the road down to improve those lines of sight, all those types of things. So there's a lot of issues, so we'll have to look at what might be the best, and maybe next year all we're doing is just preliminary engineering to see what that 200 West and 150, or 300 North look like from 150 heading to 200 West. Maybe all we get done is engineering, I don't know, but there's a lot of problems to solve, and we'll have to look at those are all part of the project list, and those 2 are probably the next projects that are on that list, along with a phase 3 for the technology park as we continue to develop it. Those are probably the 3 next big projects. And then there's some projects out by the airport that we're going to look at too. So we might have some smaller projects next year that would lead to some larger projects in 2021 as we do some preliminary engineering in 2020.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Okay, I got just a question.
Mhm.
There's quite a bit of difference in these bids.
Yes.
Now, both of these I'm familiar with, both of them are very reputable
Yep.
contractors. But I'm surprised at the difference in the bids.
Yeah. I did look at them. I think, so Fenn and Brown has the benefit because they're close, so their asphalt and their trucking prices for that product is a lot less than Reith Riley because they don't have an asphalt plant that's nearby the project site. In the past, Reith Riley has historically, on any project bidding, been significantly higher than in any of the other bids. And ironically, we only got 2 bids. Typically, we have at least another bidder that did not bid. And in talking to them, they were working with other contractors who they thought were going to bid on the project. So they didn't have time to be the main contractor, so they were trying to give them prices for their portion of the work. But then those 2 people backed out of submitting bids, so then they ended up not submitting a bid. Had they known that they weren't going to submit a bid, they would have submitted, and my guess is you probably would have seen 2 bids that would have been within 50,000 to 100,000 of each other, which has been typical of the spread on those 2 bidders. With Reith Riley, if you look back at the other project that they recently bid on, it's usually $500,000 more or higher than the others. They do good work. I don't know if it's just a proximity, the additional trucking costs. You can look at their asphalt prices, about $20 a ton higher than what Fenn and Brown's is. So you got a couple $100,000 just in the difference in the asphalt cost.
Some of that could be trucking.
And a lot of it's trucking,
Distance.
because, yes,
Distance.
they have to haul that asphalt from their closest plant, whereas Fenn & Brown's is just right up the road.
Good question.
I'd move that we approve Fenn and Brown as the contractor for this project.
Second.
Rick makes a motion to approve, Mike seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay. Anything else come before this illustrious group tonight? Who's snicking?
I did.
Dog.
Spectacular.
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 Yeah.
Gotta love it.
I love it.
Wait till you see the end.
Anything else you want to do before this?
Our general year report's probably gonna be coming up here pretty quick. I can't remember the exact date, it's either March or April, I think it's due, but, so I'll be working on that and trying to get that out to you guys here shortly. And that'll be a recap of last year, it'll be, show projection for this upcoming year, kind of what we talked about a few months ago when we had to amend the report. The new report will have both of those, so we'll try to hold our public hearing and do kind of everything all at once, so, rather than doing it twice. But it's a month or so away, month and a half.
We can wait.
You'll have it ready for when budgets turn around here shortly.
Yeah, something to look forward to. All right, next meeting is March 4th. I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Our city attorney set a new record. He's been here twice in the same year. Thank you for that, for your help.
No problem.
If you're reading